that now.
You can try.
I could try. Oh my gosh, the look on your guys' faces was epic.
I love it.
That was so awesome.
Great.
Oh my God, you guys, we have theme music thanks to Dina. Dina did a whole intro and an outro. So you will have an outro. She wanted us to look more profesh. She was tired of hearing my voice, I guess. Say the good morning.
Can I push the button when the outro goes on? So then, whether you're talking or not, even if Sandy's on, I just, okay, that's it.
Okay, Russell's lost his privilege. I was considering it, but now it's he's lost his
I
privilege.
just push the button. Time.
Yes, but good Monday morning, you guys. Oh my goodness. One, the Northerners need to come get their weather back because somehow it's 44 here in Texas and it's April. Okay, it was
It's
just
perfect
90.
over here
No,
in
it was so
Georgia.
nice. I went for a walk this morning. I wasn't sweating. I was like, my hair is staying. There's no humidity.
Well, I mean, if you like the cold, it was like 44 here this morning. I don't like the cold. Okay, I'd rather be in 115 degrees in the AC. That's
But
my
Amy,
whole thing.
You know it's gonna last for like 5 minutes and then we're done. That's
I know,
all we
but
get.
it's April. You know, like it's April. So anyways, it's a whole thing, and you guys need to come get your cold weather back. Us Texans don't like it. Russell over there, we're not even going to talk to you because you're in beautiful weather. So we're not even.
Savannah was so sexy nice this weekend.
Yeah, we were cold and rainy and gross here in Texas. But you guys, oh my gosh, we're going to either have, I feel like me and Valerie are going to have huge fans. We could get haters, but holy crap, you guys, UH has made it into the championship. Oh my gosh. What a game. What a game. So
Screaming.
I know. God. Okay. So here's the secret in my household. And you guys know Josh doesn't listen, so I can talk all the shit that I want to talk. So what has happened is Josh isn't really big into sports. Therefore, we don't watch a lot of sports because I end up kind of explaining the game because I grew up watching it with my dad. Like my whole household, we all are big football, basketball, baseball players, right? Or watchers. And so I was like, we're putting this game on because my sister and her son were going for Duke. So they were talking mad crap. She's like, oh, they're going to obliterate UH. Just don't watch the
Everybody
game.
thought they were.
I know. It was like 11-1, right? So I was like, no, I'm going to watch the game. We got to support, right? And especially because I live up here in Aggieville, Josh is beginning to drink the Kool-Aid and they're like, well, we should support local team. And I'm like, no, we're UH in it or UTSA in it. Like there's no other options in this household. Big no. So we watched the game and I kid you not. So you guys know Josh got his wisdom teeth out last week, right? He's been suffering.
Good, so he can shut up.
Yeah, so he's all chipmunk living it up, right? So I smacked the shit out of his arm. I kid you not. And that last 31 seconds when we were down by 1, I was like, oh my God, are they going to do it? And then, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Family Guy. I love that show. And there's the episode where Stewie's just sitting there rocking back and forth. Kind of like, it's like the tweaking episode where he was tweaking out, but he's like rocking back and forth. That was me. And I sent that gift to everyone in my family because they were all going for UH and Duke to make my nephew happy. And so, oh man, what a last 31.8 seconds of that game. The game tonight is like a toss up. So, I got all my UH stuff out, my flags out. All my shirts, we're just going to switch them out all night. Like it's going to be, my girls have it and everything. So, that was generally my weekend, but I do have another injury in my household.
Of course.
I know. I know. So Sky was jumping on my trampoline and
get rid of that thing.
You shouldn't have it your anyway. Mouth. Hey, Doug.
That's like a insurance liability issue.
Russell, we're just no. So it's a spring-free trampoline, okay? So it's one of the safety ones, has a net, everything like that. So she was going, so they started playing with the neighborhood kids, And you guys know I have the biggest lot in my neighborhood. So my backyard is the go-to place. I have the trampoline and everything. So all the kids want to come to my backyard. So they were all on the trampoline jumping. And Sky went to jump and spin. And instead, I think another kid jumped, so pushed the trampoline down. And so she came, and her thing is my knee bent backwards. So I had to take her to get x-rays. She doesn't have anything broken, allegedly, but she cannot walk. She has not been able to walk since Tuesday night. She's getting the princess treatment of being carried around everywhere. So needless to say, we're going to orthopedics tomorrow because I feel like she has torn something in her knee.
Get rid
She
of
cannot
that
walk it.
trampoline.
Russell. No. So, anyways, that's the latest injury in my household. But other than that, it's smooth sailing. Wisdom teeth are great. All fun. So, what all did you guys do this weekend besides watch and cheer for UH? Because I know all of you guys did that. And if you didn't, me and Valerie don't want to know about it. Okay. We just don't want to know about it. So, what all did you guys do? Valerie, you had a crazy fun weekend. You social thing. What all did you get to do?
Well, let me see. Friday, we headed out to Kata Robata, and I was like, this is a big Friday thing because I don't know who likes Japanese sushi, but it was amazing. It was amazing. And so I was like, what a great way to kick off the weekend with that, just, and doing stuff like that. And then Saturday was a little crazy. We had a gala downtown at the Hilton Americas, which happened to be right across the street from the big watch party for the Final Four. So we went to the gala supporting juvenile diabetes, and then we're like, you know what? We're not ready to go home. Let's just walk across and see how the watch party was going. And it was into that second quarter. And we were walking around, like I was wearing a long dress, my husband's wearing a tux, and we just walk up into the Final Four watch party. And it was so awesome just being there, just with the crowd. And it was such a Houston thing to do,
I love it.
just go here, go there. And people are so welcoming. They're like, here, have a necklace. Here, take a picture. Here, do this. And we stayed for a long time. And then we left because we were standing, and, I was wearing heels by this time. And so I was like, okay, there's like 12 minutes and we're really struggling here. Let's go home. And by the time we got home, it was like, bam. And just, I was able to catch like the last 8 minutes of the game or so, just screaming here at the house. But how exciting was that? That was like incredible.
Oh, yeah. My kids were upstairs watching their own movie, and mom's losing her ass downstairs. And my youngest, she can't walk, so she just yells, she's just like, Mom, shut up. I want to hear my movie. It was great. Eventually they went to sleep, but it was
that's the best part of your story right there.
Yeah. But yesterday we just was family day, so we had to chill and just like calm down for a minute and catch our breath. Our breath. It's always nice to have a day to catch your breath before the rest of the week takes over.
Before Monday comes and hits you in the face.
Before Monday comes, there you go.
Yeah. Doug, what did you do this weekend?
It's pretty low key. I watched curling Friday, Saturday.
That's pretty low key.
Fun.
Yeah. and then I did a little bit of apartment condo shopping, looking kind of see where that's going to end up. So, yeah, not very exciting.
That sounds like a fun weekend to me. I like doing those things, and I like curling. Like you wouldn't picture me to like curling, but I do. And looking at houses or apartments and condos is fun.
I actually agree. Doug, were you at the place where they were doing the curling?
No.
So because I would love to go to when they're doing the curling, so you can make out loud comments while they're in the process, because that would be the most fun part, is commenting on while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And then seeing their reaction.
And the curling venue because this was the world championship.
Oh, well, you weren't.
The curling venue was just 75 kilometers down the highway from where I live. So I could have, I guess.
Yeah, but I was thinking that you were like a beer hall where they were curling, because that's real curling.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A beer hall that has curling.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was in Savannah this weekend, And one of the things that I decided to start doing last week was to bury myself in AI, because this is the next big thing. And I want to ride the wave. I don't want to be, uh, what, 3 years behind everyone else. I
Okay.
want to be on the cusp of it, I decided. Plus, it was an intellectual challenge to learn it. But
Mhm.
all week, I really wasn't breaking into it. So we're at a party Saturday night in Savannah. And let me tell you what, Savannah was spectacular. It was like spring break. So you had all these crazy wild college kids. And then you had this great party. It was to raise money for the Savannah State University Scholarship Fund. So it was a really
Mhm.
worthy party. So we were there, and I was sitting next to a 28-year-old professional and a 38-year-old professional, two guys. And extroverted Russell was the one that was there, not any of the
Okay.
other Russells. So I got them talking. Of course, I got them talking about AI. And I asked them the question. I said, I'm just trying to learn it. Uh, basically 68 years old. You're 38. How often do you use AI? Well, he uses it a couple times a month. Uh, he uses it on some emails or reports. Then I asked the 28-year-old, I said, how often do you use it? He said, I use it every day. Uh, the way I got started was the guy that introduced me to it said, for 1 week, use AI instead of Google.
Oh.
Once you do that for a week, you will become so acquainted with it. Then you will use it all the time. And I started doing that night, and it really broke me into AI. And I've been sending Amy and Valerie AI messages
I
for
love
the
it.
last 24 hours, because and I'm really struck, and I'm learning a lot of stuff about it. One thing, it seems to be a little shallow. You really have to push it and push it and push it to get adequate details. And I'm not been really satisfied with that yet. Uh, there are some things that I just thought AI could reach out on all sorts of knowledge, but the AI that I've been using doesn't seem to be able to reach out as far and as wide as I thought. So I'm learning. But that's the biggest stuff that I did this weekend. Well, as we finish, I need to thank the people listening to us before we get started. Uh, Doug, we're top 1% in some of the podcast channels now. We're very surprised. We're 9 years old this year. And uh, for a long time after we started getting on podcasts, I couldn't find us because I'm behind schedule. But Amy did some changes, and now it's easy to find us. We're basically at the top of the stack. It's great. Come and join us. Amy, where can people find us?
Yeah, so you can find us anywhere that you guys can look for a podcast. My go-to is Amazon, but there's Spotify, iTunes. If you're an Android user like me, Google Play, Good Pods is another one. Anywhere that you listen to your podcast, type in Author Talk, look for the crimson, red, and gold, because you guys know those are my favorite. And I rebranded us, so I got to pick it, which is I love it. But make sure you go. You can see and hear all of our shows from the very beginning to today. If you're listening to us live or later in the week, you can go back and do it. If you want to engage with us live while we're talking, you want to see what we look like, if you don't know what we look like or what I look like with green hair, or be a part of the conversation, come over to our Facebook group, YouTube channel, any one of our social media channels. I promise we do not bite. We will engage with you and answer your questions. Russell might bite depending on his day and how he's feeling.
Depending on the day, depends on
Yeah.
which Russell's there.
Exactly, 100%. But Russell, to comment off of your, using AI. So Dina had sent this to me, and it was like 70 different Chat GPT AI bots that are specific for specific things. So email marketing, they'll help you formulate emails that'll convert. They'll help you come up with social media strategies if you're struggling. They'll even create graphics and those kinds of things. So I've started using those just to kind of help because, you know, my kids are getting older. Time is less and less of the day. So it does help. And Dina has used it where Dina has full-blown conversations. It's like replaced me as her best friend. So it's pretty
Okay,
awesome.
I have started those conversations. Now, this is a learning thing, and I bet there's a lot of people listening that had the same m- bad impression that I did. And that is, I thought once you do AI, they know everything. But you're saying there's different AIs for different things that are educated different ways that you have to pick. So just a little, so I have Copilot right now.
Yeah.
Maybe the reason it's so shallow is it's not specified for the things I need. Maybe I need to shop around for different AI. Is that what you're saying?
Well, here, I'll show you. I'll show you what mine look like. So it's a spreadsheet, which I don't like. Spreadsheets are the death of me. But see, so I have, what is this? I have 10 that are just for social media and then content creation and then business. And then this is like what it'll look like.
Can
So
you
this is
merge them all
helping me do it.
together?
No, you just pick one. And then like this one right here, right? I picked one to help me give me inspiration on graphics, right? So it'll create it. Now with the graphics one, you have to be careful because you see how it's like all smudged and stuff. So then I'll just take the outline and then I'll overlay it in Canva or in Photoshop and do my own thing. But I mean, it just is, there's just different ones. Like this is just what I specifically was looking for. And then it'll help me with like trigger words and keywords for them to get them doing what I want them to do. So it helped me.
So if I wanted an AI uh, as a brief editor or a assistant on my manuscripts or something, I need to specifically look for that type of AI. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would only let AI help you in terms of like grammar editing. I wouldn't do developmental, but grammar, I would let it
But
help
you
you.
you use AI, and Doug, what do you do? Uh, uh, you use AI for to do emails and perhaps blogs, right? What AI do you use to do that?
I don't, I haven't been I haven't thrown my hook in the water yet to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, I
I,
mean, it's difficult.
the one thing that I think, and Amy and I talked about this, was the possibility of doing, uh, what was it? We were doing a audio
Audio.
book. Yeah, doing the audio book. I'm pretty much all in, ready to. I think that would be a good experience.
Well, I just believe intellectually, it's since it's a new thing anyway, it's the wave, and I believe in constant learning, constant expansion, and it's perfect multi benefit for to both expand your mind and to stay on the technological wave. So that's why I'm
Mhm.
so into it. Valerie, you said you don't
Mhm.
use it at all.
I really don't have a need for it right now, but I didn't know, like Amy was saying, that it does help with some of these marketing ideas, and that's a great, first step. I think if you want to put your toe in the water and just try something like that, because I totally believe in evolving and learning and doing all these things. I guess maybe I just haven't had a need to use it professionally in my
Yeah.
everyday, career stuff. But in terms of like background stuff, like maybe like marketing or, just content or social media, that would be an awesome way to, try it out.
How
Yeah.
often, Valerie, do you look something up on Google? How often?
Depends, but I mean, I would say a fair amount, but so it's
Well,
just,
use
so
for a
like you were
week,
saying,
use
it'd be like an
AI
either
instead of that.
or.
Right. Download Copilot, use that for a week instead of Google, and
Mhm.
it will uh that way you can wade into the water.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I will say, so like the social media one, like I just wanted to experiment with, there's one about helping get engagement, right? And you guys know, like, I've done this for a really long time. And so I'm like, oh yeah, like I've done, but you start to kind of feel like, because you have TikTok, right? And like it's dominating the market, but it's not a perfect platform for all avenues, right?
We've
And
argued about that many times.
I know. And so sometimes, right? And sometimes I start to feel like, man, like, do I actually still really know social media? Like, it's evolving so quickly. Do I still actually know it? So then when I had it create an engagement, different ways to engage on different platforms, it had said everything that I had already suggested and kind of put into my strategy. So it just kind of reaffirmed that, like, I still got it. I still know what I'm doing. I still got it, So it helped me in a confidence boost sometimes. I don't think that was the intention, but it's what it did, and it was great. So if you need a confidence boost, go on out there. It'll help you too. Okay, there's all kinds of realms for it. But speaking of not necessarily confidence boost, but helping during difficult times and difficult seasons of life, Valerie, let's get Doug talking about his book that comes out on April 20th, called Grief, the Silent Pandemic. So Valerie, Doug, you guys take it away and introduce us to your upcoming book.
So Doug, I understand this is like, you have so many certifications as a mentor and all these different just ways that you've been helping people. Tell us about your new book and how this can help people.
Well, the new book is Grief, the Silent Pandemic, and I guess sort of to back us up a bit, where that came from was I was working with some people who said, you need to write a book about this, especially around the grief part, and because it fits into a lot of things, and it's how would I describe this? It's something that we just seem to take for granted. I had a conversation yesterday with somebody, and it was the whole idea about when we talk about grief, there's a lot of myths that are out there. So a lot of things, like that grief can go on. Grief has got an end date to it, and no, it doesn't. There's obviously a start date, but there's never going to be an end date for it. So there's some things like that. But where the idea behind the book came was that I was just in conversation with some people, and they said, you've written You Are Not Alone, and that was the start of your journey down the grief path. Why don't you write another book that'll take us even further down that path? And so consequently, Grief, the Silent Pandemic was born.
Nice. And what was your approach to this compared to your other books?
This one, I had a greater influence because my wife had been diagnosed with cancer and passed away in 2021. And so that was kind of, for the most part, that was the motivation I needed in order to be able to write the book.
Mm-hmm. And then the process, though, of just like taking it one step further, like your friend suggested, what did you do to make that happen?
So a large part of that was I needed myself to get a better understanding of what this thing we called grief, what that was all about. So I did quite a bit of research and a lot of talking to individuals. Plus, on top of it, I was already working with or helping individuals on their grieving journey. And this was a way for me to kind of go to the next level, for lack of a better choice of words, to be able to get us to a place where I was comfortable, especially, because here I am, I'm helping individuals with their healing journey as it relates to grief, but I'm still dealing with my own stuff and having to kind of juggle all of that at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what did you discover even when talking to other people about, I mean, like we all know everybody's journey is different, but was there any commonality that you wanted to include that, to reassure readers that this is part of the process?
Well, the big thing, especially as a grief mentor, for, using that terminology, was the fact that we need to make sure that we listen and hear rather than tell people, here's what you need to do in order to deal with that, it's a matter of, I need to listen to you, listen and hear what you're saying, because you have a story or a message that you want to share that's going to help me better position to help you move forward, to better customize what we need for a solution to provide the support that you actually need.
And is that how the book progresses, is just guiding people through that?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. What the book does is it helps us understand grief, and it talks about navigating the grieving process and the role that a mentor can play in that process. And then, we explore the aspect of grief as it relates to youth, as it relates to grief in the workplace. As an example, like I remember when my mom passed away and I went back to work fairly quickly, and there was people that didn't have an idea that I was going through a grieving process. And so, there were things that the organization needed to have in place that they obviously didn't have in place. So, and then there's, how trauma can actually fits into that whole picture as well. And then finally, the book wraps up by talking about supporting others and what does that look like and what does that mean. And then I sort of do a recap of my own personal story of where I've been, where, the fact that I'm still grieving. I hate Saturdays. I hate weekends, because that's when we used to go and do, things together as a couple. And now that's non-existent. So, I speak to that particular aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Excuse me. I guess you were talking about, grieving for different situations, like you said, trauma, or, at the workplace, or different things. How do you, break that down for the reader as well?
So think, there's so many different things, you can have grief when it comes to relationships. Mm-hmm. So you can even lose have one of your family pets passes away. That will cause, grief to be something that you're going to have to deal with. There's and then the trauma aspect and the grief, there are elements of that, because I one of the stories I share with people is, during my time with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I had a particular time in a small rural community. I became very close to a young lad, because in a sporting type of atmosphere, and he ended up as a result of he was selected to be part of the men's hockey team, and he goes home to share his great news with his parents, only to find that they were inebriated beyond recognition. And as a result of that, he death by suicide. And so I talk a lot about, and I share that. And when I do podcasts, that's one of the stories that I share, because what it demonstrates is, from a grief perspective, is that, we can, I was grieving the loss of him as one of my best friends, but he was also a member of the community. And, there were a number of different factors that were all part to that story. But the most important thing was that I had to figure out, I had to have a coping mechanism in place to be able to deal with that. And we touch on that in the book.
Mm-hmm. And I do, the fact that addressing the different situations, like you mentioned, relationship, even pets, even, workplace, things like that. There is no real definition of grief. People think, like, when you say grief, you're like, okay, it's a close loved one or a friend. But no, there's grief for every aspect of our lives. Do you agree to that?
Yeah.
And just how it impacts us on just so many levels.
And Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and I remember I talked with a gentleman through a networking platform, and he had lost his son 12 years ago, and he is still grieving to this very day. He said, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about, I don't think about my son and how much is missing from my life now because my son is no longer part of that. So, you've touched on some good points in that we all grieve differently, and we all react to grief in our own special way. And the biggest thing that we need to be focusing on, and we kind of touch on that in the book as well, is that I need to be able to have the coping mechanisms in place to be able to deal with that, because it's not a magic wand where I wave my wand and everything's better and we're all good to go. It's not that way. I'm going to need to make sure that I'm always, you talked about continuous learning, and that I need to be continuously learning what coping skills can I put into place to be able to help me better deal with this.
And have you, I guess, uncovered these coping skills just through your interviews with people or through your mentoring experience? How did that evolve?
Most of it came from the mentoring experience, and obviously, certainly there was an element of that came from mentoring individuals and talking with them, and sort of like the main one is that, is that we need to be able to, as grief mentors, we need to be able to listen and hear what the person that we're working with or helping or trying to help, we need to be able to listen and hear what they have to say, because within those comments or within their story are the clues that we need in order to figure out what do I need to do differently, or to be able to help this person navigate through their own grief journey.
So can you also, I guess, in this process of listening and trying to be, supportive, what do you suggest besides, going the step further, besides listening, and then you kind of, we become like a guiding light for them to just get through the process? Is that what you're trying to say, in the book, like something like that?
The big thing is that, how would I word that? What I typically want people to be able to do is to come out of the closet and ask for help. So no matter where you are, what it is you're doing, and that it's okay to step out and say, I'm grieving, I'm going through a grieving process. But more importantly, to be able to say, yes, I'm going through a grieving process, but I also, I need help, and I'm asking, for that help.
And then I guess, how do you, I mean, a lot of people aren't going to come out and just say that. Do you feel like it's up to us to kind of like recognize, like, this person is having a hard time, just like you said, being a good listener. But when you do see maybe someone having a hard time, what would be like the first step you would do past listening and just being encouraging?
Well, the biggest thing is to be able to build a trusting relationship with that individual, and to be able to, one of the things that I do, and I do well, is that I share my own personal stories.
Yes.
And by doing that, it kind of breaks those walls down, and it gives that person the opportunity to be able to move forward and feel comfortable and feel safe. Creating that safe place for that conversation to take place is part of my journey with you.
And then I know, like, there's been, I guess people talk about the stages of grief. Do you address that at all, or just it's a different approach in your book?
We speak to the stages, but more so from the aspect of that there's one of the common myths that people have is that you have the 5 or 7 stages and that you have to follow those stages. Well, no, you don't. They're there as a guideline, and I may I can start out at denial as my first stage, and then work from there. But maybe the next time I don't start at denial, maybe I start at one of the other stages, and go from there to be able to move. So the big thing for your listeners to think about is the aspect that those stages of grief are there just as a guideline. They're not a fixed way of having to go through and deal with things. They're just a guideline. And there's actually, in some of the research and stuff that I did, there was people who were speaking about the stages of grief, were cautioning about getting hooked in on, I have to follow these stages and I have to follow a certain pathway, and no, you don't.
And why the title, The Silent Pandemic?
Well, so from my particular thing was, when we talk about grief, we don't, there's not a lot of material that's out there that speaks to the actual application of grief. There's lots of, from an academic perspective, there's certainly that. But what I'm finding is that there's grief, there's mental health, there's cancer. Those are all things that, from my perspective, are at a stage of being a pandemic of their own. Because we had COVID, and somebody decided that after, so many people had died or passed on as from COVID, and that we needed to make it a pandemic. And what I'm saying or suggesting, and I try to do so in the book, is that there are other things that need to be considered as a pandemic as well. And that's what this book is attempting to address.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Russell, do you have any questions to add?
Yeah, I do. One of the things that, when I had to deal with a close family member that was dealing with this, the thing that I was counseled on weekly was, don't just go in and start telling them to get over it or to muscle up. Basically, I was told to just shut up and be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your response to that?
I agree 100% with that. You need to know when, as I sometimes say, you need to know when to zip it and when it's okay to talk. And there's obviously lots of elements. There's, if I'm going to have a conversation with you regarding that, I need to create a safe place for that to happen. And if I can't, sorry, go ahead.
And do you discuss it in your book?
Yes, I touch on it. Yes.
I found that the hardest lesson, the hardest part about dealing with loved ones that are going through grief, is to shut up and let them go through it.
You can still be there to support them, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to shut up and don't tell them how to fix it.
Yeah. Yes. Basically, yes.
So, how do people find your books, and how do people find out more about you, or where you're going to be next, or what podcast you're going to be on next?
So both books, or actually all three books for that matter, are on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. And for people that want more information and want to even have a conversation with me, they can most definitely find me through my website, www.talentc, so the word talent with the letter C on the end, .ca. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there. But because it's so important, if you have questions or if you're struggling with your own personal healing journey, please feel free to reach out and contact me by email at doug.lawrence@talentc.ca, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can, and we'll have a conversation to see how we can help you deal with the grief that you're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I noticed on the description of the book, it says this is a beacon of hope and there is healing possible. Can you expand on that, please?
Yeah, I certainly can. So for the idea behind where this started to go was when I started to do the research and stuff around the idea of grief, the silent pandemic. One of the other things that seemed to rise to the top was the aspect of being able to help individuals move forward with this, with dealing with their own grief and that, and being able to do so in such a manner that they can have a safe conversation with somebody to help them move along. One of the things I have always said when I'm talking to people is, I'll never leave you on the island by yourself. And by doing so, what I'm, suggesting is that there are things we can do to help you deal with your journey. And there, as I said to the people I was speaking with yesterday, I said, what we need to be able to do is I need to be able to manage my grief, and just as well, we need to help you manage your grief as well.
Mm-hmm. Would you say the book is more for the person that is the listener or the person that is grieving, or for both?
Both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely both.
That was a very good question, Val.
And why do you how does each, I guess, part come together?
So how does each part come together? So
yeah, I guess there's a chapter addressing for the listener and a chapter addressing the person grieving. Or do we say, like, if you're helping this person, or if you're feeling this, or how, putting those pieces together?
So probably two things, is, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, was from how we deal with grief. So we have grief that I'm experiencing or that I'm exposed to as an individual, but you also have grief from the aspect of looking at it from an organization. So what do I, what do I do as the organization? But where I spend most of my time, I believe, is dealing with grief from a personal, at a personal level, more so than anything else, and being able to help guide people, without telling. So storytelling and sort of I use that quite a bit to be able to help navigate through the grief that people are dealing with. And the idea behind that is such that one of the things that I've talked about before, which is that I'm very successful at what I do because I've been there. I've walked in a similar pair of shoes as what the person I'm trying to help, as to what they're walking or going or experiencing. So that's an important element as well.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like, at some point, everyone has had grief impact them. So having that relatability is so important to, expanding on the situation and grasping how we can all maybe just benefit from your book.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It sounds amazing. It sounds like it's a very thoughtful, endearing book.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that our listening audience are going to.
Doug, that's her children. That's part of the show.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
coming in. They're attacking.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, those are my kids.
It's an attack.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I'm muted most of the show, Doug, to be honest with you. This is why.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say something and I unmuted and then she decided to lose it. So I'm gonna mute again so you can finish finish your thought, and then I'll pop back in.
Well, it's gone at my age.
Yes, that's why I said something, because Doug was
It's out
he
the
heard
window.
your kids and he's lit threes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It happens. Yeah. Because she can't,
It's
she's
part of the show.
I call her crippled. She's crippled at the moment, so she yells and then she
Yeah.
turns the TV on all the way. So you were hearing Shimmer and Shine. So if you like Shimmer and
Ah,
Shine, that's what you were hearing.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is I think your book is something that is really needed because all of us experience grief at some point in our lives and we all handle it differently. But every single one of us have experienced trying to be there for someone that's going through that time. And you know, as an outsider looking in, you can tell people what to do. But when you've never experienced it, it's really difficult when you're in that moment to know what the right thing is. Like Russell, you like just keeping your mouth shut and letting them do it. That would be really hard
Be
for
there,
me.
but be there,
Yeah.
but be quiet.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like that would be really difficult for me because I feel like all moms are fixers and we want to fix it, right? And so when you can't fix it and there's nothing that you can do, it's very difficult. I mean, I went through that. I mean, not that I hadn't lost someone, but when you watch someone else struggle and you can't do anything about it, that's their own version. They're in their own grieving period of whatever happens, right? And so how can you be there when you can't fix it? You can't do anything. All you can do is just let them know that you're there when they're ready and that you can sit there. And it's kind of like that big trend, right? Like we listen and we don't judge kind of thing. It generally is kind of like that. We're going to listen to anything that you have to say.
And for some of us,
Be
it's
there.
really hard
It's very hard.
to be that. And you got to work hard at it.
Exactly. But I feel like, Doug, your book, I have had the honor of reading your book before. So I can speak from reading it that it really does walk someone through the whole grieving process of what someone else is going to go through, maybe what you're going through and what that looks like and how you can help someone else and how they can help you. And it really breaks those things down. And I think grief is a conversation nobody wants to talk about, but it's definitely something that everyone's experiencing it. So kudos to you for just taking the hat off and like facing that head on and just being like, hey, this is a conversation we're going to have. Because I feel like everybody needs it. And it is something that I think The Silent Pandemic is perfect title, subtitle to that book, because it truly is where you suffer grief silently. Everyone generally wants to go on, act like they're just fine, but in reality, they're not. And so, hats off for tackling a difficult subject, facing it head on and giving people hope that, hey, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's different. What you're going through is normal. It may look different from somebody else, but it is normal. And for being that resource to people, I think that's important. People need that. So kudos to you, Doug, tackling hard subjects, man. I love it. I love it. Yeah. But I do want to ask, I know we're over time. Russell's going to kill me, but I do want to know what is next for you, Doug? What's your next venture?
I don't know if you recall a conversation you and I and Nikki had where I made a comment or a commitment, and I'm questioning whether it was a smart move on my part or not, but I had said that I would commit to writing a book a year. And so I'm not going to disclose, but I actually had a conversation yesterday. Actually, I will. The part that came out of the conversation yesterday was the aspect of how spiritually, how are we impacted by grief?
Okay. Yeah. See? Tackling hard subjects, Doug. I like it. Not afraid to face them head on. And I like that. Well, you guys, Doug's book comes out April 20th. Make sure that you go and get it for yourself, for a loved one, or someone that you know that is battling grief that doesn't want to talk about it. This is the best gift and resource that you can give them, and even for yourself, because you will encounter this at some point in your life. So it is the wonderful resource. But Doug, it's always so wonderful to have you here and to have lighthearted conversation about such a deep and heavy, heavy topic. So thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come and hang out with us this Monday morning.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, we hope that you all have a fantastic Monday, a great rest of your week. Go UH tonight, okay? Stomp on the Florida Gators for sure. But until next Monday, bye for now, everybody.